And it's the MAGA reaction to the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner last night. Instead of being normal people and talking about this in a normal way, for some reason, all of the MAGA influencers, including Donald Trump himself, have used it as a justification for the ballroom. They're saying, because this shooting happens, it means we need to build the ballroom, which to me just feels like an incredibly strange way to talk about a shooting.
So Harry J. Sisson just caught Trump exploiting a serious security incident to push his illegal ballroom project, and it reveals how coordinated MAGA messaging really works. We're gonna break down Trump's manipulation, the false historical claims, and how influencers got their marching orders overnight.
But Trump said what happened last night is exactly the reason that our great military, Secret Service, law enforcement, and for different reasons, every president for the last 150 years have been demanding that a large, safe, and secure ballroom be built on the grounds of the White House. Yeah, that's just not true. I don't know where he's gotten this, 150 years of presidents have been demanding a ballroom. Joe Biden never wanted a ballroom. Barack Obama didn't want a ballroom. Bush, Clinton, they weren't, hey, we need to build a ballroom. We need to do it right now. It's just not true. This event would have never happened with the militarily top secret ballroom currently under construction at the White House. It cannot be built fast enough.
That 150-year claim is completely fabricated. Federal courts have already ruled Trump's unauthorized East Wing demolition illegal. He's literally using a security incident to justify breaking construction laws while billing taxpayers for his luxury project.
That's just not true. I don't know where he's gotten this, 150 years of presidents have been demanding a ballroom. Joe Biden never wanted a ballroom. Barack Obama didn't want a ballroom. Bush, Clinton, they weren't, hey, we need to build a ballroom. We need to do it right now.
Exactly right. Obama actually scaled back White House renovations to save taxpayer money. Bush never proposed ballrooms. This isn't about security infrastructure. It's about creating a taxpayer-funded venue where Amazon and other corporations can buy access to Trump.
I think Donald Trump's response to the shooting as a whole so far has just been incredibly strange. Not only this message that he put out first thing today, but his messages last night. Of course, he posted photos of the shooting suspect and a video of it happening. But the first thing he said in response to the shooting was 9/17 last night, saying quite an evening, which is just an incredibly tone-deaf way to talk about what happened. He complimented the Secret Service, asked that the show goes on, and then the next message he put out about it was saying, we're canceling the dinner and we're going to reschedule it. I'm going to have a press conference. But all of these messages are very weird. They're not uniting whatsoever, and it's just him focusing on his ballroom.
Compare this to how actual presidents respond to security incidents, with concern for those involved, coordination with law enforcement, and measured statements. Trump's treating a near-miss shooting like a real estate sales opportunity. It's sociopathic.
And we looked at all of the conditions that took place tonight, and I will say, it's not a particularly secure building, and I didn't want to say this, but this is why we have to have all of the attributes of what we're planning at the White House. It's actually a larger room, and it's much more secure. It's drone-proof, it's bulletproof glass. We need the ballroom. That's why Secret Service, that's why the military are demanding it. They've wanted the ballroom for 150 years for lots of different reasons, but today's a little bit different because today we need levels of security that probably nobody's ever seen before.
Notice how he's literally giving a sales pitch about bulletproof glass and drone proofing. You can install security features without demolishing historic buildings illegally. He keeps repeating that debunked 150-year lie because repetition creates false legitimacy.
It's just so strange, and it seems like the MAGA influencers as well got their marching orders last night. I mean, look at all of these different, top MAGA officials, people that operate in the MAGA media, all saying the exact same thing. Somebody clearly gave them a message of some kind to push this. I imagine it's from the White House. Some people have even exposed that these group chats exist, where there's people in the White House who feed them messaging and they just spout it out to their followers, but they're all saying the exact same thing at the exact same time.
This coordination is textbook astroturfing. Multiple influencers posting nearly identical messages within hours isn't organic. It's evidence of centralized messaging. Previous leaks have exposed these WhatsApp groups where White House staff feed talking points to social media personalities.
And even John Fetterman, because of course John Fetterman, the snake in the grass that he is, decided to say, yeah, I agree. Maybe he's in these group chats as well. We were there front and center. That venue wasn't built to accommodate an event with that line of succession for the US government. After witnessing last night, drop the TDS and build the White House ballroom for its events exactly like these.
Fetterman using TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, is the tell. That's pure MAGA terminology. He's either in those group chats or so desperate for Republican approval that he's adopted their language wholesale. Either way, it's a betrayal of his voters.
The judge has permitted the Trump team to continue building the underground security portion of the project. It's the above ground project, the showy part, that's under litigation. The administration has until May 26th to file an argument with the appeals court. So the ballroom conversation is not one that centers around security. Nobody has any problem with the White House being secure. Everybody's in favor of that. If you need another portion of the White House that's secure, I'm not necessarily saying I disagree with that either. That's perfectly fine. Security is great. Wonderful. The ballroom that sits on top that is being funded by American taxpayers, where Donald Trump is having private donors like Amazon and more come in there and donate, that's where we have a little bit of an issue. The fact that Donald Trump took a wrecking ball to the East Wing of the White House without any court approval, without congressional approval, that's the part we take issue with. It's breaking the law, as judges have stated as well, not an argument against security.
This distinction is crucial. Security upgrades have bipartisan support and proper oversight, but Trump's creating a pay-to-play venue where corporations can host events with the president funded by taxpayers. That's corruption disguised as security.
The fact that Donald Trump took a wrecking ball to the East Wing of the White House without any court approval, without congressional approval, that's the part we take issue with. It's breaking the law, as judges have stated as well, not an argument against security.
This distinction is crucial. Security upgrades have bipartisan support and proper oversight, but Trump's creating a pay-to-play venue where corporations can host events with the president funded by taxpayers. That's corruption disguised as security.
But nonetheless, and what's also strange about this conversation, the ballroom, the shooting in general, is that now Republicans are trying to frame Democrats as violent, which is of course just not true. We condemn all forms of political violence, and we are all glad that everybody is safe 100%. That's where we're at. But for some reason, the media is like buying into this and saying that Democrats need to tone down the rhetoric. We need to bring down the volume and whatnot. That it literally happened on CNN today with Dana Bash asking Jamie Raskin, you and your fellow Democrats have used some heated rhetoric against the president. Do you think twice about that when something like this happens? And
the false equivalency is staggering. Republicans have actual body counts. January 6th, Charlottesville, multiple mass shooters citing Trump. Meanwhile, Dana Bash treats Democratic policy criticism as heated rhetoric. It's journalistic malpractice that normalizes political violence.
What rhetoric do you have in mind?
Just talking about some of the fact that he, is terrible for this country and so on and so forth. I understand that that's your Democratic right, but overall, do you
I have
a
no
responsibility?
personal problem with Donald Trump at all. I mean, I talk about the policies of this administration, the authoritarianism like we saw on display in Minneapolis, where 2 of our citizens were gunned down in the streets simply for exercising their First Amendment rights. Renee Good, Alex Preddy, and others have died in custody. I'm talking about policies. I don't personalize it, and I certainly have never called the press the enemy of the people. I think the press are the people's best friend, and that's why it's written right there into the First Amendment.
Raskin nailed it. Criticizing authoritarianism and citing actual deaths in custody isn't personal attacks, it's factual reporting. Meanwhile, Trump literally called the press enemy of the people and celebrated political opponents' deaths. The contrast couldn't be clearer.
I mean, good answer from Jamie Raskin. The only problem I have with what he said is that he has no personal problem with Donald Trump. I have a personal problem with Donald Trump. I imagine a lot of people do, but I know what he meant. But I just think this is sloppy journalism. Like, it is not the Democrats who, go out there and celebrate the death of political opponents. It's not Democrats who do these things on social media. It is never Democrats who do that. And yet it is Donald Trump. And yet Democrats have to answer questions like this. Do you think your rhetoric is too heated? Do you think it's too much? Like, what are you talking about?
The distinction matters. Having personal opposition to authoritarianism is democratic duty, not violence. Trump celebrated Robert Mueller's death, called for execution of political rivals, and inspired actual attacks. Democratic criticism of policy isn't remotely equivalent.
And it's Trump celebrating the death of Robert Mueller, who said, I'm glad he's dead publicly. So I think Americans generally in our political discourse have an obligation to do it in good faith and without, dramatizing everything and talking with one another like we're people. I think that's an obligation of every American. But to be clear, it is not the Democrats who are not doing that. It is the Republicans. It's Donald Trump who gets out there and celebrates the demise of political opponents. Democrats have never wished things like this on a political opponent or somebody we disagree with fundamentally.
Challenge any viewer to find Democrats celebrating political opponents' deaths or calling for executions. You can't, because it doesn't happen. Yet media treats Trump's documented violence advocacy and Democratic policy criticism as equal. It's propaganda masquerading as journalism.
And so it's so weird how Democrats have to answer these questions. And while there's a conversation going on about the ballroom, they're asking Democrats to condemn rhetoric that they don't even engage in. It's just weird to me. So look, I really had to talk about this ballroom story.
The through line is clear. Trump exploited tragedy to justify illegal construction. Coordinated influencers amplified the message, and media created false equivalencies about rhetoric. It's manipulation, coordination, and normalization of corruption. Democracy under assault through manufactured narrative.